Are you planning on racing 70.3 Muncie this year? If so, this is the video for you because in it, myself, a YouTuber, and a really experienced coach are going to talk through exactly what you need for swim, bike, run, transition, equipment, and all that good advice. So, who are we and how are we going to help you? Well, my name is Coach Steve or Steven Moody. I am an Ironman youth certified coach from Dublin, Ireland, and more recently, I'm a YouTuber who does reviews of 70.3s and full distance race around the world. Um, so I started off doing these with the races I've done, but I quickly ran out as I've not done them all. And then I tapped into my really cool network of experienced coaches, race organizers, race announcers, etc., to actually get the info on the courses that I haven't touched. And in this, I am delighted to have a good friend of the channel, Wendy Mader, back to talk about 70.3 Muncie. I hope to God I'm not mispronouncing that. Wendy, a little bit about yourself and how you know this course.
So I am Wendy Mader, and
Right.
I have been racing. I'm on my 33rd season of triathlon. I haven't missed a race in 33 years. And I am a triathlon coach. I've been coaching for 25 years. My claim to fame is I was the overall female amateur winner at the 2008 Ironman World Championships, 9:53:50. Still my fastest course ever. It's my fastest time on that course in 2008. So I'm pretty proud of that moment. And I did Muncie back in 1995 when it was called the Muncie Endurathon. In 1994, excuse me. It was called the Muncie Endurathon, and I grew up in Michigan. So that was my first half Ironman, my third year of, or my second year of racing. And I had my bike stolen 4 days before the race from my house. It's a long story. And I borrowed a bike. So I ride a 52 centimeter frame, and I borrowed a bike that was 56 centimeter frame. And I rode upright the whole race. And it's a two-loop course. And I remember passing my parents thinking, I want to get off my bike. This is so uncomfortable. But I ended up finishing the race, and I had a really stellar 1:30-ish half marathon. I didn't know I was that fast back then until I look at results. And so I was a runner. I was a swimmer and a runner. I guess I was a runner. I didn't realize how fast I was a runner back then. And I still finished pretty well. I probably won my age group because my age group was so small back then. And so it's a very meaningful race for me because it was my first one. And then fast forward to 1997, after my first Ironman, I got chronic fatigue and I was off for 6 months. So Muncie in 1998 became like my first race coming out of chronic fatigue. So I have two kind of special memories of the Muncie Triathlon.
Nice. Um, so it's a memorable race for you, and also I think you've coached a couple of other athletes on this course as well. And no
I
doubt
have,
because
yeah.
perfect because Wendy's underselling herself, saying that she like she is her claim to fame is the fact that she's an age group champion. Sorry, a Kona champion. That is a massive claim to fame. But she's also a bloody good coach, which we'll talk about as we go through. And you'll see this from the gems of knowledge she'll give you about this course. But let's get to it. Let's dive in. And you gave me a little bit of palpitation to talk about your bike stolen before a race. It's my biggest fear, and I think a little bit of sweat poured down my head. Just okay, but we got the bike back. Well, we had another bike. Phew. Okay,
We had another bike.
okay, doke. Right, we'll start off swim course. Tell us what the newbies can expect on this course.
It's a one loop course. Very easy directionally. The water's fairly warm, at least it was back in the day. I mean, this race is a fairly warm weather, warm water race. Um, the course is not hard. Usually the conditions of the water are pretty, what I'm going to say, flat. There's not going to be a lot of turbulence. It's just going to be warm.
So wetsuit legal borderline or what would do?
Probably going to be borderline. This day and age, most races that used to be cold are borderline. And so I encourage athletes to anticipate a non-wetsuit race. Definitely travel with all your gear and travel with your wetsuit or your speed suit or your core short, whatever you plan on racing with. And it could be just depends on the weather leading up to the race. I mean, it's most open body waters are the air temperature. So it just depends on the conditions, the climate leading up to the race, what it's going to be like.
Okay, cool. And you enter the water in from a beach, a ramp, or and it's the seated start, I believe, or
Yeah, you seed yourself by time. So it's I can't remember the name of the start. How do they call that? I
a
just did a
rolling
video,
start.
a rolling start. I just did a video on that on YouTube on my Instagram channel. It is a rolling start. I think every 70.3 and 40.6 are rolling starts now, where you seed yourself behind your predicted finish time. And there's going to be no current to worry about. There's no like head current or tail current. Um, you just, it's best to go in a body of water and time yourself and see what your time is in open water and then kind of seed yourself appropriately. Very casual walk in. Your start of the race starts when you enter the water.
Yeah. Actually, the one race that is not a rolling swim start, and I know this because I think I'm on my 100 race review. Ironman New Zealand is still a floating
Yes.
mass swim start. It's the only race I've found so far. So I must go down and do that. I know you
Yeah,
would because you're the
too.
swimmer and you love that
Yeah,
stuff.
I would love that.
We'll do a joint collab down in New Zealand just to kind of do some content. Expenses
Yes,
on
that'd
me.
be awesome.
Okay, and it is okay, simple enough. What you call it, a horseshoe shape. Um, distinct possibility it could be wetsuit optional. And again, that's where what you will have. Ironman will give you the option if it is over the 76 degrees Celsius, if I remember correctly.
76.1.
76.1. You can still wear a wetsuit, but at that stage you have to you start at the back of the race as an and you're not eligible for World Cup, World Championship qualification or age group awards. But if you're really nervous, you do have that option. Do think about it as well because it is like if it's that warm, you can overheat in a wetsuit. But just bear that in mind. And the exit out again is it onto a jetty or steps or can you remember a ramp or
I think there's a ramp.
okay. Yeah, excellent. Okay. Anything else we need to know on the swim? Any t hints or tips? Oh, sunglasses. Goggles wise, is the sun in your face or
You know
should
what?
tinted goggles?
I don't remember that part, but I always recommend athletes travel to races with clear goggles and tinted goggles just in case. I mean, courses can change last minute where, previous years there was no sun glare, but then all of a sudden they had to change the course for whatever reason and there's sun glare. So just be prepared. I mean, again, like everything, be prepared for what can go wrong. And, your goggles you may just need a different pair of goggles. There was one race 2 years ago that I was so happy I brought my clear goggles because it was pouring rain at the start of the swim. And so having tinted goggles would have been kind of a disaster for me.
As Coach Wendy says, prepare for the worst and hope for the best. And we're
Yes.
going to get t-shirts made up from you. We'll talk about transition line, but it looks like it's a big long run up to it, but we'll talk to that in a second. In terms of your swim cutoff time, it's a standard 1 hour, 10 minutes from when you enter the water. And we'll have a little chat on that now, as Wendy was talking about in terms of the rolling swim start until you exit the water. That's your time limit. So, okay, we'll move on to just a little bit more on the rolling swim start or seated swim start, or as the Canadians call it, a pulse swim start, which I thought was kind of cool. It's like the pulse moving into water.
Mhm.
This is what Ironman does. This is not exactly Muncie, but an actual overhead shot, and it really shows what happens. As Coach Wendy said, you turn up and you put yourself into a corral or a pen based on your estimated swim time. So there will be under 25 minutes, 25 to 30, etc., 30 to 35. Put yourself in the right swim lane because the Ironman will let the faster swimmers off first. And this is how they do it. You see the volunteers here say thank you and we smile at the volunteers. They've given up their time for you to race. We'll hold everybody in place until there's an audible beep and it happens every 4 to 5 seconds. They'll lift their arms up and 4 people or 5 people will go in at the time. I love this guy. He's already on his Garmin, and because he knows he's crossed the mat there. That's where the mat is. That's where your time starts. So no point in if you're a weak swimmer thinking I'm going to put myself up with the 25-minute swimmers because they will unapologetically swim over you and give you a really crap start to your day. So seed yourself wisely. It also has the added benefit of if you put yourself in, if you swim 2 minutes per 100, and you put yourself in with amongst swimmers who are 2 minutes to 100, you'll get a good draft. If you put yourself in with swimmers 130, you will never see them again. So obey the kind of the honor system here. Get yourself into the right corral and get yourself start off nicely for the swim day. Anything else you want to add to that, Coach Wendy?
No, some races will start you one or two at a time. Just depends on the how narrow or how much room that they have. So it really doesn't matter. Just be prepared to line up behind your predicted swim
Yep.
pace
No,
sometime.
absolutely. Um, okay, cool. We will move on to our transition. Now, it's a single transition. It is a what they call a traditional transition rather than a clean transition where they use red and blue bags. They tend not to use these in Ironman 70.3's North America races. So you will set up your transition as if you are in a local kind of domestic sprint or an Olympic distance. We have everything beside yourself, whereas in other races you'll hear of in full Ironman distance where you will have to use a blue and red bag system. It's simpler here, but it means a little bit of organization. What organizational tips would you give the nervous newbie in their first 70.3 in terms of transition? Any other hints and tips?
Only bring what you need, and what you need is what you practice with. So I like to have like a small little towel laid out underneath my bike. When I rack it, it's underneath my bike. I put my cycling shoes, a pair of socks. Sometimes I grab them for the bike, sometimes I grab them for the run. I have my racing belt with my bib number on it. So cycling shoes, running shoes, socks, racing bib, belt. Sometimes I have some nutrition there, sometimes I don't. And then on my bike, I'll have my helmet and my sunglasses in my helmet. And so I'm very methodical on how I transition coming out of the water. But, don't bring clothing, gear, you don't need any of that stuff. It just takes up too much space and it's going to piss off um your
Neighbors.
neighbor. Yeah.
And any other tips? You love your ins and outs tip. I'm going to remind you to
Yeah. So, yeah, like when you get to the race, one reason you get to the race site early is so you can kind of go to the bathroom and then really kind of walk through your ins and outs, know where you're going to run in from the swim, know where you're going to exit the bike, know where you're going to enter the bike, and know where you're going to exit from the run. Because your bike, the bike rack is going to look really different when you come out of the water. When you enter the water, it's full of bikes. Depending on how fast or how slow you are, it may look different coming out of the water, as well as it's going to look different with the amount of bikes when you're coming in from the bike, getting ready to run. So really just pay attention to where your bike is located. Sometimes someone else is going to put up a balloon, or someone else is going to put arrows from the swim to the bike and the bike to the run on the ground, or there's a tree or a trash can or something that you can easily eye to know where your bike is.
perfect. No, absolutely brilliant. And again, you can also do that walk through the day before when you check in your bike. Just again, because your bike will be they're racked by numbers, so therefore do the walk through the night before, the day before. As Wendy said, where you coming out of the swim exit? Where's your bike? Is it beside a tree? Is it beside a portaloo, etc.? What's the bike out and what's the mount line, as in the line you have to cross with your entire bike before you can get on the bike, and then the dismount line, etc. And when you come in, what that flow looks like. Another top tip from me is you don't leave your bike computer and your food the day on the race, the morning on the day before the race. Put that in on the morning of the race, because otherwise bike computers can get knocked off, food will attract critters, etc., and all the rest. And if it's warm in the morning, your food's going to be all horrible, mingy. So you'll have access to your bike and your transition to do the final setup in the morning. So make sure you take advantage of that. Any other transition tips or anything else for the guys?
No, I think we covered it.
Cool. There's some other what you call it, hints and tips as well, little short videos in the comments below in terms of how to get your out of your wetsuit quick, how to kind of make sure you don't get blisters on the bike, etc., etc. Make sure you check out the shorts. Always good to have extra info. So I hope you're enjoying the time with Coach Wendy. I always do. So make sure you give her a thumbs up on the video, and also you make sure you check out her Instagram. As she mentioned there, she's got this really cool content going up all the time. The latest one about the rolling swim start is brilliant as well. And if you'd like to see other content from myself about other race reviews or other triathlon train stuff, hit that subscribe button. And that's all for the self promotion. Right, we're now on the bike course. And this is advertised as flat on the Ironman site. Would you agree, or what did you think of the course?
I would, yeah, I'd say it's flat. If there's any type of hill, it's very small. It's not long. It's not steep. It's a little, just a little incline, kind of get you out of the saddle, stretch out your legs a little bit. And it is two loops. So don't let that elevation map scare you because it's 1,400 feet of elevation gain over 56 miles. And
Yeah,
so it looks like it's a big hill, but it's not. Just gentle, gentle, gentle rollers.
yeah. And we've had this conversation before. Whoever does the maps on this, like they're either just trying to compress it into a really short space or they're tight for time. But yeah, look, if you look at what you call it, there's only kind of 200 meters worth of elevation over 200 feet of elevation over like 16 miles. It's rollers. Yeah, it's not as bad as it looks. But anyhow, we'll go back to the actual course. We're coming out. Is it road surfaces good, bad, or what's your
You
memory of
know,
this?
I haven't done it since 1994, so I'm sure the roads conditions are have changed a lot. A few years ago, I was actually in Indiana. I wasn't on the Muncie course, but I was visiting friends, and the roads there were pretty um, clean and no cracks and no construction zones, anything like that. It's pretty smooth. Smooth is the word I wanted to say.
Very good. And as I said, it's nice, smooth roads. From this, would you be recommending a road bike or a TT bike if people have
TT bike.
options?
TT bike without a doubt, because it's a flatter, gently rolling hills. You could probably stay in aero as you go up these gentle rollers. You probably don't even need to come out of the saddle if you don't want to, but I think it's always a good idea to stretch out your back, stretch out your legs, and to do some out of the saddle when you do hit a little bump in the road. But for the most part, TT without a doubt.
Okay. Any specific training tips you'd give to guys getting ready for this race, considering it's a flat course and it's a looped course?
Spend time outside on your TT bike in the aero position because this day and age, so many people ride out of convenience indoors, and with all those nice cycling apps, it's really convenient and nice to get in a solid quality workout indoors. And you just don't want race day to be the first time you're outside. And you don't want race day to be the first time you're on a flat course. So, if possible, during that, you know, 4 to 8 week build up before race day, that's when you should be doing sport specific training, which means you're outside on a flattish course in your aero bars. So your shoulders and back can get adjusted, as well as your hamstrings, glutes, and quads.
Fantastic. 100% agree with you. And I'll add on a little layer as well, as in when you go in on those long bike rides and you're going aero, make sure you're practicing your nutrition strategy in terms of what your setup's going to be, where's your food going to be, how do you get into it without having to come all the way up at a saddle? Are you using a front-loaded hydration system? Are you using rear bottles? Practice using these equipment, especially after you've been in the saddle and in the aero position for whatever, a couple of hours, and things can be stiff if you just know how that feels and dial in your nutrition. Anything else you're going to throw in on the bike course or any other bike training tips in general, coach?
You know, it's gonna, prepare for wind. It's an out and back twice. So for every headwind or for every tailwind, you're gonna have headwind. For every headwind, you're gonna have a tailwind. So again, the importance of riding outside is so critical. So you know what it's like to ride in a headwind, you know what it's like to manage your pace in a tailwind. And yeah, I mean, again, race specificity is important.
Yeah, absolutely. I also am going to steal one of your tips as well. As you, you've always said to me as well that if you even throw in more hills than this in your training, it'll be easier on the day. Like so, the elevation gain is minimal. So if you even train on hills, that will build your strength as well.
Yeah. Hills make me stronger for flats.
That's it. Hills, summer. So was it winter hills make summer smiles? I think, or
Yes.
something
Oh
like
yeah, I
that.
like that. That's a good one.
I'm just gonna go on my mugs. I'm gonna stay a whole range of mugs and start selling them. Okay, cool. We will move on to the T2s shortly, but just in terms of your bike cutoff time, with your swim, when you cross the mat, your T1 time and your bike time, you've got 5 hours and 30 minutes to make those two laps and get back to the same transition to get into your run gear. Oh, before we do that, we'll talk a little bit about the aid stations. And this is vital. For 70.3 in full distance racing, you need to have, you can't or you don't want to carry all the food with you on the bike because it's going to be a lot, but you do need to fuel for success. And there you'll see aid stations on the course, and this is how they will be made up. I have to emphasize that these are not like 50 meters wide. These are like 300, 400 meters wide. So the big long lineup when you come through. And the first thing I'll have to emphasize, this is called like the start of the litter zone, and this is the end of the litter zone or trash zone. You'll be coming in, and this is the only place you can chuck your bottles, your gel wrappers, your banana skins, or whatever. Because if you don't obey this and you chuck it in, was it Muncie's beautiful countryside? Two things will happen. One, you will get spotted by Marshall and you get disqualified, which is a really dumb way to go. Two, you'll be known as a dick in the triathlon community. We do not litter when we're in a race venue because if we do that, we will not be invited back. We have to respect the people of Muncie who are allowing us to race in their back garden. We have to make it dead easy for our man to roll up, roll out, and as if that we're only leaving footprints and we're only taking photographs. In terms of how a straight, apologies, my rant. I'm really trying to knock litter on the head in all of North America in the world. Um, in how a standard aid station in Ironman setup is, you will have water, mortal hydration, food. Sounds very grandiose. It's going to be about half a banana or an energy bar. Mortal again, as in gels, mortal hydration and water. These are handed out in pre-mixed in bottles that will fit in a standard bottle cage. There are volunteers that will hand them to you. So if you miss the water bottle the first time, don't panic. There's a second chance here, etc. Key things to note: this is a high area of reward and a high area of risk. What do I mean by that? As I said, you do need to be able to fuel and keep on top of your hydration in a race. But as I said, this people can drop bottles, people can chuck bottles. There's people veering in to come to an aid station. There's volunteers handing out things. Lots of moving parts. So some key things: slow down. Two, communicate. Tell the riders you're going into an aid station. Three, tell a volunteer what you're looking for. Point, kind of a bottle of water, please, and they'll do their best to get it into your hand. And then you put it into your bottle cage, communicate again. I'm coming out, I'm coming out. And then it will be nice, safe. You'll get on board the fuel, you'll get on board the water, whatever it is, and then you move on. Um, Coach Wendy, anything you want to add to that from an aid station point of view?
Slow down. I mean, slowing down an extra, maybe losing a couple seconds because you went slow. Just get the bottle and go, or get the food or gel or whatever you need. If you're someone who's carrying your own like powder, that you plan to grab a water bottle and stop and pour the powder into, I would do it at the end of the aid station and make sure, you slow down and you're safely going to your right and getting to the end of the aid station before you stop. Because if you stop right in the middle of an aid station, someone may be looking down or looking on their side, grabbing a bottle, and they may crash into you. So it's just really play it safe in these zones.
Yeah. Again, there's a lot of common sense involved, but again, also just do a bit of practicing. People, one of the key things is, and what I get my guys is on one of their last long bikes, have their partner, friend, kid out holding a water bottle, like a bottle ready for them as they come along, and practice trying to get it from them and put it in your bottle cage as you pass the house. Because I guarantee you'll knock it out of their hands the first couple of times, you'll all have a laugh, but you'll get it the third, fourth time, you go, actually, that's exactly what I need to do. It's really key. And just to hammer home the point, if you want some demonstrations, some do's and don'ts, there's a really cool video in the comments below by a really clever influencer. He's a good-looking guy, really charming. Don't know who it is. It's me. Okay, but that's again a bit more content for you. Transition two. We're back to the same place. I don't believe there's bike catchers. Do you remember if there's any bike catchers? There seemed to
I'm
be,
going to say no.
yeah. So
No, just volunteers, it always depends on the volunteers. Sometimes there's wetsuit peelers. We didn't even talk about that.
oh,
Even for a 70.3, there's wetsuit peelers. Sometimes there's not. So don't count on it. Be sure you practice taking on and off your wetsuit if it's wetsuit legal. Be sure you don't expect any bike catchers, maybe for the pros, but just don't expect it. Expect to dismount at the dismount line, which is the same as the mount line, and re-rack your bike exactly where you got it from.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so as I said, the wetsuit peelers slash strippers or bike catchers, they tend to be a kind of a full distance luxury. And again, it is dependent on the number of volunteers. It's something you can double check in the athlete briefing and the athlete briefing, but typically is expected a lot of DIY and this stuff, which we all do in Europe. We don't even a full. We don't have bike catchers or wetsuit peelers. It's the luxury you Americans have. It's lovely. Um, okay. Any kind of what's your top tip for a fast and someone coming into T2? What do you tell your guys? What's the key thing you hammer home?
Well, first thing, like the last mile or two, I tell them to put their bike in an easier gear so they're spinning out their legs, getting them ready to run. Go through your transition and training. So when I'm running my bike to my rack, I'm thinking, what are the steps I need to do? Rack my bike, take my helmet off. You need to keep that helmet fastened until you're back to your bike rack. Take my helmet off. Um, Sometimes I'm able to slip my feet out of my shoes before I dismount. Sometimes I don't. So it's just a kind of a base it on what I'm feeling like that day. If I'm running in my cycling shoes or running in bare feet. But really quickly, I bend over, put my shoes on, grab my visor, grab my racing belt, and I'm out of there. So I'm putting on my visor and I'm putting on my racing belt and I'm putting on sunscreen as I'm running out of transition. So my transitions, due to my experience, have become fairly quick, but I'm not dilly-dallying. I know there's nutrition out on the course that I'm going to use. I know there's sunscreen on the course if I don't put it on myself, and I just get out of there as fast as I can.
Yeah, no, absolutely. As I said, the phrase we have in our squad is NGHIT2. Nothing good happens in transition two. Get in, get out. T1, you can take a bit more time because you're making sure you got all nutrition and all that, and the helmet's fastened before you touch your bike, etc., etc. But the minute you have your runners on, there's nothing you can't do while moving forward and getting closer to the finish line. That's putting on your sun cream, that's putting on your race belt, putting on your hat, taking a gel on board. So one of the other guys now says the only thing you'll find in T2 is other people's problems. As in, if someone's sitting there complaining about the bike split, someone's there going, "Oh, my hamstrings," just keep moving. It's you'll thank us for it. Um, okay. The other thing you'll see, there's a couple of tips for having a fast T2 in there in the shorts below. Make sure you check them out. Anything else on transition two before we run on to this run course?
No, let's go.
Righty-ho. This is probably the hardest part of this course from what I can see. It describes itself as lumpy, and even our little there is some running running in this. What's your memories of the course or any feedback on the one lap course?
Um, I kind of remember a little elevation. I mean, 1,000 feet of elevation gain in 13 miles is can be a lot. I mean, it's definitely a lot more than 1,000 feet of elevation gain in 56 miles. So you're going to feel some hills. Again, off memory, I don't remember exactly. I just remember I did have a fairly fast time. But the important thing is it's going to be really hot. By the time you get to the run, no matter what, it's going to be really hot. It could be high humidity, high dew point. You need to stay hydrated. You need to practice those habits of grabbing ice, putting them underneath your cap or putting them down into your chest or underneath your armpits, even into your shorts and your groin to keep cool is really important. Don't pass up an aid station, even if you don't fuel at every aid station. Make sure you splash yourself with ice water if possible.
Yeah, and there's aid stations roughly every mile on the course, so you said it is something definitely to take advantage of. In terms of advice for someone training for there is a fair bit of elevation in it as well, and there seems to be some decent descents and some decent climbing. What do you advise for people training for this?
Well, I'm going to look at that elevation. It says gain 161 feet.
Yeah.
So start elevation and finishing elevation. It says the gain's only 161 feet.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
another deceptive map. But again, course specificity or training specificity, train on the course terrain that this race, Muncie, or any future race is going to have for you. Making sure, there when you run on a flat course, you're using your quads and hamstrings kind of equally. When you're running on a hilly course, you're using your hamstrings going uphill, you're using your quads going downhill. So it's definitely a different type of sensation. So make sure you train on the course terrain that Muncie's going to provide.
Yeah, absolutely. And for
And
me,
in the
as is,
heat, train in the heat.
yep, Absolutely. And again, working on those lovely tips you gave about the try to heat management as well, just sort of keep an eye on your core temperature. See if you're sweating a lot, you'll see a lot of white residue in your tri suit as well. Make sure you're getting on board the electrolytes, which will be in the form of mortal hydration here. There'll also be Coca-Cola. There'll be salty snacks. They typically get pretzels. If you're sweating a lot, get that on board, or else you'll end up cramping because you're losing a lot of electrolytes. Um, for me as well, I will always get my guys to, as I said, do a fair bit of hill running for this type of course. Hill repeats are good midweek.
Yeah.
And that practicing that downhill running, which is kind of an unusual skill, as where you kind of need to let yourself go more forward rather than if you lean back, you engage your quads and your glutes unnecessarily, and you end up like tiring out those muscles. Learn to run like Phoebe down a hill, as I tell my guys.
Well,
Um,
and another rule is like if you are going to incorporate any walking, you know, walk the uphill, but don't walk it downhill. You're going to be faster running downhill. So, if you have to walk, walk an uphill and make sure you jog or run downhill. It's going to be faster.
nice, absolutely. Any other tips we have for the run course?
No, it's just going to be, I just want to reiterate, it's going to be hot. I'm always surprised how surprised athletes can be when they hear the temperature at a venue. I advise everyone always expect heat, no matter where you're going. Always expect heat, always expect wind, and always expect hills. And train in heat, train in hills, and train in wind. And if there's no heat, wind, or hills, you're going to be happy.
Absolutely. Back to your was it hope for the was it prepare for the worst and hope for the best.
Yeah.
Okay, doke. We've got swim, T1, bike, T2, and run. That's 8 hours and 30 minutes to get the job done. And this is your reward. This is the 70 Muncie finish line. A beautiful forest area it looks like. I suspect this carpet will now be red, no doubt. What do you remember the finish line yourself, Wendy?
No. It's different because it wasn't a
Oh
70.3, it was
yeah.
Muncie Endurathon. So it
Oh,
was just a
pure.
completely local company that owned these races. And so it was just really different. I don't think there was any shoot. I don't think there was any red carpet. It was basically just your standard hometown, local race venue finish.
Yeah. Well, I suppose, that's one thing Ironman definitely does bring. It brings the razzmatazz. They get all the crowd going. Muncie comes out and supports this. They are, they know how to put on a show, and you'll know that from the minute you turn up and you're in your swim pen. The announcers were getting you all nerves going, all the rest. But something to look forward to. All right, we'll talk a little bit about the venue timetable. Pull this from the 2025 guide, so these are bang on. You can register on Thursday at 2 p.m. or Friday morning, 9 a.m. You will have athlete briefings, which 100% encourage you to go to. This video is absolutely great. Coach Wendy is absolutely fab, but there's nothing that you also need to check out the athlete briefing. There'll be small little nuggets that might change last minute. Do read the athlete guide in this it's meant to be complementary to this video. But the briefings on Thursday 3 and 5, Friday 11 and 1. Um, the key stuff you will need to drop your bike off the day before. By the way, Muncie's a little bit unusual. You will pick up your timing chip as you register. In a lot of other races, you only pick up your timing chip as you actually hand in your bike. But Muncie, they do have you picking it up as you register. So don't forget. And my tip there is put it on your ankle, leave it on your left ankle, because it means just have one less thing to worry about and potentially forget. It'll stick on, you won't even notice. Drop your bike off Saturday 10 till 5. Transition opens at 4:30. The good stuff happens at 6:30, and you'll have a great race day. Any last minute tips for people getting set up or getting the last few days in the lead up to the race, Coach Wendy?
No, I mean, I think if anyone's traveling, if you're traveling to a new location, just arrive early. Like for Thursday registration opening, I would want to be there by Wednesday so I can register like immediately right away. Go through the expo, get there early so nothing is sold out yet. I think it's kind of key, and then you can relax the next few days leading up to your race, check out the town, do some stuff with your kids or family, but definitely the earlier the better for me getting to a venue.
Yeah, absolutely agreed. And then also on the morning of transition, I always get my guys to go early because as you've often said in other videos, you don't sleep the night before, so you might as well just go and absorb the electricity and the excitement that is in transition. Talk to people, take time to get your setup right, and just enjoy the day. Any other last minute tips?
No, one another reason to get there early is in case you have a bike mechanical. I've arrived in transition where I've had flat tires. And so you'll get there early so you're not stressing about, oh my God, I have 20 minutes to get this flat tire fixed. You usually just take it to a mechanic. It gives you plenty of time to pump up your tires if that's something you want to do race morning. And then just hang out, socialize, take pictures. Um, yeah, you're not going to sleep the night before, so might as well just get there.
Yeah, no, agreed. And I 100% agree with you getting there early. There's nothing like that compresses the space-time continuum when you're under pressure. If you have a flat and you have an hour to fix it, is a world of difference if you have a flat and you have 15 minutes to fix it before you have to get into before the swim start. And it's all about minimizing energy loss and sort of stress, which will drain the energy, what you want to be in your arms and in your legs for the whole race, rather than sort of just getting drained and to go, oh my God, well, there's a queue of four people to the mechanic, as opposed, which is a disaster of 10 minutes. It's not such a big deal if you got
Hmm.
45. Okay, cool. Right. We will, before we say our final goodbyes, I just want to point out that if you have any last minute queries or questions, or are looking for a absolute rock star coach in your corner for this season or next season, this is Coach Wendy's email address, t2coachwendy at gmail.com. Do ping her any questions. You've got a question about Muncie, but she knows the course, but she also knows an awful lot of other courses, and she is already getting great results from her athletes this season. I love chatting to her before we actually go on air. I get to find out all cool things and results her athletes are getting. I'm getting quite jealous. She's also a phenomenal athlete as well and a lovely person. I highly recommend you check her out in terms of if you are looking to do your first 70.3, PB a 70.3, or you might even let you go to her island, which she owns because she actually won there. Kona. I'm gonna call you the Queen of Kona. Okay. I'm anyhow, Coach Wendy. Any last minutes tips or for feedback for our viewers?
Well, I like to tell my athletes always before the race is control the controllables. You can't control the weather, you can't control the water temperature. So why even try to get anxious about that kind of thing? It's going to be hot, expect it. And if it's not, the ball's in your court. And then race it like you train it, meaning you know how you prepared. You should have a race plan outline, a fuel plan outline before you get there race day. And then race day is easy. You just go execute what you said you were going to do.
And that's why it's great to have you as a coach because they'll have all those things. But anyhow, listen, for those who haven't had the pleasure and are just going to be racing Muncie this year, take on board the words of wisdom, and I will wrap it up there by saying thank you a million for Coach Wendy's time, her energy, her insight. It's always been brilliant. Thank you ever so much, Coach.
Thank you. Have a great day.
We'll leave it there.